товарищ Верховный Главнокомандующий.
Comrade Supreme Commander-in-Chief, the troops of the Joint Group of Forces, in the course of the special military operation, continue to carry out tasks to liberate the Donetsk People's Republic and the Zaporosia and Kherson regions. In June, 29 settlements and 636 square kilometers of territory were liberated. The Kyiv regime, lacking results on the ground, seeks to convince its Western sponsors that it has gained the initiative and made significant advances on the battlefield. To this end, they are conducting an information campaign in which they demonstrate the alleged successes of the AFU formations, while the territory liberated by Russian troops is concealed under the neutral wording, moved into the gray zone. At the same time, the offensive of the formations and military units of the Joint Group of Forces is being conducted in all directions. The highest rates of advance have been achieved in the areas of responsibility of the northern and eastern groups of forces. The northern group of forces, advancing simultaneously in several directions, continues expanding the security zone within Ukraine's Sumy and Kharkov regions bordering Russia. The advance towards Sumy and the settlement of Bely Kolodes in the Kharkov region is proceeding successfully. In June, 8 settlements were taken under Russian control. The Western group of forces is developing an offensive on a broad front in its area of responsibility in the Kharkov region and in the northern part of the Donetsk People's Republic. In the Kupiansk direction, the enemy does not abandon its intentions to regain lost positions in Kupiansk. To this end, has deployed additional 11 battalions to the area, including those from 2 Marine brigades, which are making unsuccessful attempts to break through into the city and drive our units back to the east bank of the Oskol River. At the same time, Ukrainian units are suffering significant losses. Since May 10th, about 2,500 Ukrainian servicemen have been killed in this direction, including more than 550 Marine officers, with 772 pieces of weapons and equipment. The elimination of enemy formations on the eastern bank of the Oskol River in the area south of Borovaya settlement continues. There, 4 settlements have come under our control: Sheikovka, Novi Mir, Chernishina, and Druzhia Lubovka. Street fighting is underway in Podliman. The liberation of the city of Krasny Liman, an important administrative center and major railway junction, having key logistical and operational significance for the further development of the offensive in this direction. The southern group of forces is conducting offensive actions to liberate the Donetsk People's Republic. The group's troops have liberated the city of Konstantinovka, one of the main enemy's strongpoints within the boundaries of the Slavyansk-Kramatorsk-Konstantinovka fortified zone. In addition, in June, advancing in the direction of Slavyansk-Kramatorsk, units of the Third Army took control of 4 more settlements. Fierce fighting continues in the area of responsibility of the Central Group of Forces. Formations and military units are developing an offensive north of Krasnoarmysk. The front line has been pushed back 8.5 kilometers from the outskirts of the city. In June, Kutuzovka, Vasilyevka, and Novi Donbass were liberated. The vanguard units of the Central Group of Forces have entered Dobropolye and Anovka. Fighting continues in Belitskoye, Shevchenko, Sergeyevka, and Krasnoyarskoye. At the same time, part of the group's forces continues creating a security zone in the Dnepropetrovsk region. Combat operations are underway to seize Novopavlovka. The eastern group of forces in their offensive zone confidently retain the initiative and are advancing in the Zaporosia and Dnepropetrovsk regions. On the right northern flank of the group's area of responsibility, formations and military units of the 29th Army thwarted attempts by AFU assault troops to infiltrate deep into our defenses. Having foiled the enemy's plan to stop our offensive in this direction, the group's units are actively advancing in the southern part of the Dnepropetrovsk region, expanding the security zone. In June, in this direction, the following settlements came under our control: Bogodarovka, Novoskelevatoye, and on July 2nd, Alexandrovka was liberated. Fighting is underway in the large settlement of Velikomikhailovka. In the direction of the main combat task, the eastern group of forces is advancing on a broad front westward in the eastern part of the Zaporozhye region. In June, about 115 square kilometers of territory came under Russian control. Komsomolskoye, Novoselovka, Lesnoye, and Rovnoye, Kopani were liberated. Fighting continues in the settlement of Lyubitskoye. Formations of the Dnieper group of forces are conducting an offensive in the Zaporozhye direction. The command of the Ukrainian armed forces trying to stop our offensive set itself the task, no less, of restoring control over lost territories in the area of Primorskoye and Stepnogorsk settlements. For this, the better trained and more motivated units were employed, special operations forces of the main intelligence directorate, and formations of foreign mercenaries. All enemy attacks were repelled. Assault units of the Dnieper group of forces are increasing the pace of the offensive. Forward groups are 9 kilometers from the southern outskirts of Zaporozhye city. Fire strikes are being delivered against AFU positions within the city limits. Fighting also continues in Orekov and Preobrazhenka. In addition, according to the General Staff's plan, massive joint strikes continue to be carried out against facilities of Ukraine's military-industrial complex and the energy infrastructure that ensures their functioning. In June, 5 strikes were carried out, as a result of which 55 facilities on the territory of Ukraine were hit, including 34 military-industrial enterprises involved in the production of Flamingo cruise missiles, long and medium-range unmanned aerial vehicles, as well as robotic systems and electronic warfare assets. Also hit were 10 airfields, where the enemy's strike aviation was based, were hit, with 5 Ukraine's fuel and energy complex facilities. On the night of July 1st to Tau, the Russian troops carried out another massive attack with long-range precision weapons and strike unmanned aerial vehicles against military-industrial complex facilities in Kyiv. As a result, 5 key enterprises of Ukraine's aviation and radio-electronic industry were hit, carrying out the production of long-range unmanned aerial vehicles, cruise missiles, and components for them. In addition, a logistics center, 4 fuel and energy complex facilities, as well as the infrastructure of 5 military airfields were hit. As a result of the strikes carried out, the capabilities of Ukrainian industry to produce long-range weapons, including cruise and ballistic missiles, have been significantly reduced, as a result of which the critical dependence of the Kiev regime on supplies of components, explosives, and fuel from Western countries continues to grow. Comrade Supreme Commander-in-Chief, the formations and military units of the joint group of forces will continue to carry out their missions to liberate Donbass and Novorossiya in accordance with the approved plan. The report is complete.